One of the major deceptions of the enemy, dating back to the Garden of Eden, is that we can control our own lives, that we can determine what is best for us, that we can say for ourselves what is right and what is wrong, that we can determine the course that our lives will take. Yes, it's true in the Proverbs and throughout Scriptures that we have real choices to make about whether we will walk in the ways of the Lord or whether we will go our own way. And the Proverbs continually exhort us, as do the rest of the Scriptures, to choose to walk in the way of godly wisdom. But one thing that's very clear in today's reading from Proverbs 16 is that even when we choose to go our own way, that does not in any way mean that we are in control. God is still sovereign even over those who think that they can just live without Him. Verse 1 says, "The plans of the heart belong to man, but it's the Lord who has the final say." Verse 9 is similar, says, "The mind of a man plans his way, but it is the Lord who directs his steps." Verse 2 says, "All people think that their ways come from good motives, but it says it's the Lord who really tests and knows the motivations of the heart." Verse 3 says the only way to know that your plans will ever be established and certain is to commit your ways to the Lord. Now that doesn't mean that you make your plans and then you pray for the Lord to bless them and He promises that He will. It means that you give all of your days and all of your moments and all of your ways to the Lord and allow Him to determine the course that you should take. And when God is the one directing your path, it's absolutely certain that that path will be a path that leads to life. Verse 25, he repeats a saying that we saw in chapter 14. "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is death." That's the deception of the enemy, that he misleads people, first of all, to believe that they really are in control of their life. And then secondly, that their way is really the right way to live. They don't always know it, but the reality is that they're being deceived into believing that they can actually be God. Because every time we walk in sin, at least for that moment, we are deciding that we are the ones who are all-knowing, that we are the ones who are all-wise, that we are the ones who can make the best plans and the best decisions for our lives. And it's a tragic deception because that attempt at self-rule of our lives is always a road that leads to death. But there is a road that always leads to life. Verse 17, he says, "The highway of the upright, the one who watches his way with godly wisdom, preserves his life." And as is the case throughout the Proverbs, the source of this godly wisdom, the heart that enables us to walk in the ways of the Lord, is to have a healthy awe of God, a deep reverence for God. The beginning of wisdom, we're told, is to have a clear view of who God is and then to honor Him and to trust Him as God. The fear of the Lord, he says in verse 6, keeps us away from all evil. And the Proverbs make it clear that to keep away from evil is to keep away from death. Not just for the purpose of avoiding death, but to put us on the path of the upright, which always, he says, leads to life. It's a very simple contrast. Verse 18, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." But he says in verse 19 that the one who is humble in spirit, the one who pays attention to the words of godly wisdom, he is the one who will find good. And then he finishes verse 20 by making it very clear and simple. He just says, "Blessed is he who trusts in the Lord." Blessed is the person who humbles himself by surrendering to God's goodness and to God's wisdom. In other words, blessed is the person who in every step of their journey, who in every moment of their life, simply trusts God to be their God.